All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Illegal Immigration and Crime will come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chairman Roberts.
Here.
Vice Chairman McMullen. Representatives Allen. Awney. Here. Baker. Billington.
Here.
Buckeye Courtway. Berger.
Here.
Burns. Here. Castile. Dinkins. Here. Ely. Henderson. Hovis.
Here.
Engel. Here. Johnson. Murphy. Owen.
Here.
Schulte.
Here.
Sharp. Sparks. Strickler. Taylor.
Here.
Weber. Here. Oh, and Thomas.
All right, as this is a hearing, we don't need a quorum, so we'll proceed. Some housekeeping things. First of all, on the witness desk here, there is a sign-in form. If you are here today to testify and have not done so, if you would please sign that form. I'm going to be calling witnesses in the order they appear on that form. Secondly, I want to be clear about the purpose of the committee. By its very name, we know that this committee is subject to some presumptions about its intent.
Is the mic on? No.
That's a question.
No. Oh, it is. Burn it. Yeah.
Just need some closer.
Maybe speak a little more into it, I guess.
I'm such a soft-spoken guy. So, I want to be clear about the purpose of this committee. This is not an anti-immigration, it is not even an anti-illegal immigration. The purpose of this committee is about crime and how it relates to illegal immigration. There are some things that we know factually, and I'll repeat this at each of our hearings. We know factually that cartels are commercializing illegal immigration. They're quite literally sponsoring people to the border and sometimes across the border. That is not free. Those immigrants in our country have some indebtedness, if you will, to the cartel. We know that embedded among those folks there are some very bad people. We know that there is a lot of fentanyl coming across the border. There are, however, some things that we don't know. We don't know how much crime is perpetrated against the illegal alien. I want to be very clear. Just because somebody is in this country illegally does not mean that it's okay to victimize them. And so a lot of what we need to do is identify what is a level of victimization against our illegal immigrants. We also know that those kinds of crimes have a collateral effect on our communities. We don't know what that is. Right now we don't capture that data, and this committee has already heard some ideas about how we might rectify that. It's difficult to make decisions without data. Finally, we don't know the magnitude of the influence on the state because we've never done what I would call a comprehensive look at. That's why we're meeting all around the state. I'm going to ask our committee, to the extent that they can, we have a limited amount of time. I'd like to try to be out of here by 5 o'clock if we can. I'm going to ask you, please, when you're doing your inquiries, inquire for the purpose of gathering information. Try to avoid making political statements. I will not stop you if you do, but understand that you'll be using your inquiry time. Each witness will be limited to 5 minutes for their presentation. Each member of the committee who wishes to inquire will be limited to 5 minutes for the inquiry, and that's start to finish. I don't mean to be unbending, but I am going to be kind of rigid about that. We need to move along and give everybody a chance to hear. Okay, with that, could somebody round up that paper for me, the list?
Did you bring your girlfriend with you?
Thank you, Gabe. All right, we do have some folks here who hold elected office. I have agreed to allow them to speak. They will be limited to 3 minutes. There will be no inquiry. Their purpose is to simply make a statement. We'll begin with the Speaker of the House, Dean Plocker.
Chairman Roberts, there we go, maybe. Chairman Roberts, members of the committee, I'm here again to thank you for your dedication and your time. I think it's important as we travel around the state, you travel around the state, to hear the various challenges, the different areas of our state, geography of our state faces with regard to illegal immigration and the crime. This is on the I-44 corridor. I think it faces some different challenges. I hope the committee is able to uncover some of those challenges that with fentanyl coming across the border and other trafficking components of illegal immigration. I just appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you for giving up so much of your summer to do it for the best of Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, do you wish to make a statement?
All right.
Afternoon, Mr. Secretary. Proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for the opportunity. For the record, Jay Ashcroft, Missouri Secretary of State. As the Chief Elections Officer for the state, who is allowed to legally vote and how do we know who is legally here is a big concern to me. Not just to make sure that only citizens are voting in our elections, but also we've actually had non-citizens that got registered to vote, did not want to be registered to vote, and it put their citizenship path in jeopardy. We've actually had citizens or non-citizens come to us where they're like, hey, I got a voter registration card, I know I'm not supposed to do this, and we had to work with them to make sure that that would not jeopardize their citizenship process. And one of the things that I hope this committee will look at when we look at crime committed by illegal immigrants or crime committed against illegal immigrants, we should look at what's drawing people here to Missouri. Because one thing that I think is overlooked frequently is that the very process of individuals illegally coming to the United States and coming to Missouri is dangerous for them. It is dangerous for children. People are dying all the time because of that. Children are dying because of that. Children are being used in human trafficking because of that. So I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate looking at this and how we can do a better job, not only frankly of protecting our country, but of protecting individuals that may very well be looking for a better life and making sure that they do that through legal channels and in a way that will be safer to them. It's scary to me that the largest reason for death of individuals between the ages of 18 and 45 in our state are the illicit drugs that are coming across our border. And the fact that sometimes children are being used as mules for the criminal element and the cartels to do that, that has a terrible effect on their potential future life. And I just appreciate what you're doing, and I encourage everything you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Senator Eigel. Senator, I don't think you were here when we were kind of laying out the ground rules. Elected officials were allowing you 3 minutes, but there will be no inquiry.
I'm sorry?
We were allowing 3 minutes and there will be no inquiry. You may proceed when you're ready.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee here. Just as a background, just a summary of a couple of events that have happened in Missouri as a result of illegal immigrants. On June 18th, 2024, Mexican nationals Arturo Esquiquillo, Noah Guzman Hernandez, Daniel Ruiz-Lopez, along with Hondurans Carlos Fuentes and Marlon Aguilar were arrested for kidnapping and trafficking a 14-year-old girl in Macon County. On May 15th, the West Plains Police Department in Missouri was made aware of a 17-year-old girl who had been drugged, kidnapped, and raped. They traced the vicious crime back to illegal immigrant Silmar Flores Galvez, who admitted to illegally entering the country just 1 year before. On March 19th, 2024, Jose Barrera, an illegal immigrant, stabbed 2 people at a laundromat in O'Fallon, Missouri. Witnesses who knew the man also told police that Barrera allegedly killed people with a machete while he was in Honduras. On March 12th, 2024, Andrina Bracco, an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, ran down and killed a 12-year-old boy on Hazelwood, Missouri with her car. This is all in the last 5 months. We need to sit down and ask ourselves, what are we doing to address this problem? Of course, the Biden administration and this border czar, Kamala Harris, deserve a lot of and most of the blame. But we knew from day one that they had the evil intentions of sowing chaos in our border.
Take your point of order.
This is a state-funded hearing. And the fact that we are listening to a political campaign speech is inappropriate, in my opinion.
Okay, the point of order is not well taken. Proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know why it's a political statement to state the fact that we have crimes being committed by illegal immigrants in this state because many politicians aren't doing anything. They're not doing a darn thing. We've got 70,000 illegal immigrants in this state right now. And a lot of politicians in the state, including from both parties, haven't done anything. And people are being hurt and killed in this state, particularly children. So I don't know why anyone would raise a point of order to object to talking about what's actually going on in this state. Because there are too few people that are willing to do anything about this problem. Particularly from, unfortunately, a lot of folks in Washington, D.C., like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris haven't done anything. Well, I think that's bad. Whether we're in a campaign season or not, maybe we need a few leaders in this state that are going to do something about it. Now, I know this is exactly not a campaign speech, but I think it's relevant to share with the committee what I would do as governor of this state.
Point of order.
Well,
Point of order.
This is not an opportunity for you to tell us what you will do if you become governor. You have an entire campaign apparatus for that. This is not appropriate for this taxpayer-funded forum.
Sorry, Senator, I have to agree.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll rephrase my comments. I sure wish there was some leadership in this state from the top of the ship in government on down that would take step one, because we're here to talk about what we would do to address the illegal immigration crisis in this state. I sure wish we had leadership that would declare an invasion under Article 4 of our Constitution that would empower our highway patrol, the National Guard, and every sheriff in every county in this state to do what should have been done years ago, detain and deport every single one of the 70,000 illegal immigrants that are in this state. I wish we had that.
Senator, I apologize. Your 3 minutes are up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you,
You bet.
Mr. Chairman.
Our first witness, you'll have to bear with me if I have trouble reading it. Gabriella? If you would state your name, you should fill out a witness form and then proceed when you're ready.
Do I feel this now?
Yes, you have 5 minutes. You can fill that afterwards.
I can do that after. Okay. Honorable members of the committee, my name is Gabriela Verdugo, and I am here today to address the implications of the Committee on Illegal Immigrant Crime. While I understand the importance of law and order, I believe that committees like this inadvertently create an atmosphere that makes immigrants feel unwelcome. I came to the USA because I was recruited by a school in Ohio for my swimming talent. I have been fortunate to always feel welcome in this country. However, I fear that committees like this could deter other immigrant athletes from accepting opportunities at their local schools, fearing that they might not be welcome as I was. As immigrants, we share the same desires as everyone else. We want peace, adherence to the law, and most importantly, unity. When we work together, we can build a better future for all. Unfortunately, committees like this often sow a division rather than promote unity. In my professional capacity, I am a bilingual realtor and the team leader of the Dulce Hogar team, and our mission is to educate Spanish-speaking individuals about the home buying, selling, and investment process. Through my work, I have seen firsthand the challenges that immigrants face due to lack of education and understanding of real estate. For example, I have encountered immigrants who sign owner-to-owner financing contracts without fully understanding the terms. They believe they were paying towards the principal only to discover later that they had not. Additionally, some immigrants have been misled into buying international licenses, thinking they were equivalent to driver's licenses, only to face legal issues later. I also had clients who purchased a condominium only to find out later when they try to sell it that they never actually own it. They couldn't keep up with the astronomical maintenance payments made to the seller, and when they attempted to sell the property, they discovered they couldn't because they never held ownership. This situation highlights how language barriers and a lack of information can lead to immigrants being taken advantage of. Furthermore, I have helped Hispanic families from other states move to our area, and they have expressed concerns about feeling unwelcome in certain neighborhoods and cities due to perceived racism. This is disheartening and counterproductive to our community's growth. I am also proud to say that in my real estate career, I have been able to help over 130 immigrants get a home. It is very important to know that when someone gets approved for a loan, it is because they follow all of the necessary laws in order to qualify. This demonstrates that immigrants are responsible individuals who contribute positively to our society. The diversity enriches our society, bringing different talents and cultures that contribute to economic growth and a vibrant, inclusive community. We must strive to make our city and state welcoming to all, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to thrive. In conclusion, I urge you to consider the broader impact of this committee. Instead of fostering a division, let us focus on unity, education, and inclusivity. By working together, we can create a better future for all residents of our beautiful state. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. I have a question for you. You stated that the nature of the committee almost makes you feel unwelcome as an immigrant. Is it the title of the committee or the work that I tried to explain at the beginning? How do we go about collecting data and understanding what is happening in terms of victimization of our illegal immigrants? What kind of collateral influence they have on the committee if we don't somehow investigate that? So I guess my question is twofold. One is it really what we're trying to do that you think makes immigrants feel unwelcome, or is it the title of the committee?
I think the title committee is very strong. It's very strong for us to hear. And I am so sorry, I didn't hear the second part of your question.
Well, we have a purpose here, and that is to collect data and try to understand the magnitude of the problem. We know there is a problem, but how big is it? Without data, it's difficult to make decisions. How do we do that if we don't have a committee and don't do some investigation?
No, I think it's very important to have a committee to investigate if this is in fact an issue. I just do not believe illegal immigrant crime is an issue that has to have its own committee named illegal immigrant crime. It just needs to be more investigations towards it so we can actually get numbers from it.
Okay, so it's the title of the committee that you think could cause the most grief?
I think the title could be
thank
changed,
you.
yes.
Questions from the Representative Weber?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. And, I will have to agree with you that the title is very misleading and is an issue. As an Asian American, I remember during the pandemic, with the Stop Asian Hate, and it was because people were screaming that it was the China virus and things like that. That rhetoric hurts communities like mine. And so when we sit here and talk about illegal crime, illegal immigrant crimes, that has a rhetoric that's being played on. And when we have to listen to some of the political posturing that just happened, again, that has a rhetoric that hurts communities like yours. So I would have to say, with this, what you went over a lot of the barriers that was happening with people trying to buy own homes and things like that. And you were saying that owner to owner and not paying the principal and everything. Can you kind of just elaborate a little bit more on some of those issues that you're seeing?
Yes, of course. And sadly, I have seen this more than a handful of times. When people come to me wanting to refinance because they don't want to have a contract with the seller, with the owner anymore, just because they get a bad vibe about it, that they don't have a communication with that person. And it's important to know that most times, actually, every single time that I have dealt with this a situation, that seller is someone who was born here, so he's not actually like a legal immigrant or anything like that. When they bring me their papers and I connect them to a lender, which is what you're supposed to do, the lender is the one who reads over the papers and says, this is just a lease contract. And these people don't know the language at all, and they come here not knowing anything. So they're just gonna trust whoever they are giving them the opportunity to even have a place to live.
All right, thank you.
Representative Billington.
Hi,
number one, thank you for coming today. And I just wanted to tell you helped 117 people, is that right?
Over 130.
Oh, 130,
Mhm,
I'm sorry.
over 130,
So
yes.
I would assume the 130 were people who came here legally, I would assume.
Yes and no. Most of them do have either their work visas, they have their residency, asylum, or their citizenships. You can also get a home if you do have an IT number, which is a tax identification number. You just have to follow the law. And here is 2 years of taxes, proving that you are paying the IRS, job history, a credit score, and the money that you need to have for the down payment.
Okay, well, you told me earlier that all the people that you're helping, they like to follow the word, they like to follow the law. Well, if they come here illegally, they don't follow the word. So, I mean, I at least, want people to come here legally. I mean, I'd great to have people throughout the country come illegal. I just personally think that's how you should come to our country illegally.
Yes.
But-
And I do agree with you 100%, but many of these people don't have the choice. They came here when they were at a young age, and they were not on age to get on DACA. I believe, and don't quote me, I'm not an immigrant person here, but DACA has been removed, right? So many of these people come because their family are here and they didn't have a choice.
Okay, well, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Representative Bowen,
To inquire.
proceed.
I was in the banking business for 40 years. For about 6 of those with an organization that had a bank in Moment. And so I've had a little experience about the lack of connection. And it sounds like, again, as you were saying, Mr. Chairman, that we're looking at both sides of this. We're looking at maybe potential criminal activity by those that come in illegally, but we're also looking at issues which I think she's referring to, where these people are being taken advantage of. And I think it's real important that we make sure that we develop the infrastructure. What are you seeing? Are you kind of like a lone person out there representing these people, or is there more of an infrastructure to support people who are English as second language?
I think there is a lack for that, for sure. Again, I am a real estate agent. I'm not a lender per se.
No, but you're someone who is in a capacity to advise these people and to make sure they're placed in the correct direction. Are there other lenders besides yourself in the area and throughout the state that you're aware of? Is that an area we need to focus on to make sure that the infrastructure is there so these people have access to good information?
I honestly feel like we lack a lot of things as in right now in the state that we live in. I really think that people should feel like they have a place to go to just ask questions and feel free to not get in trouble when they do so. On the loan side, I'm not knowledgeable enough to make a comment in regards to that, because again, I'm a realtor and not a lender. But on the real estate side, I do feel like we should really try to have the real estate contracts in Spanish, which we don't at the moment.
Well, I think if we can get them to a commercial lender, they're going to be handled properly. The thing that I hear you talking about, and we've all seen it, when you have people that are just out there and somebody gets a hold of them, they can say things that are not in the best interest of the potential buyer. Maybe that's something we need to take a look at as far as maybe any rules or regulations by those people who are contracting on real estate transactions. More so than, like I say, the commercial lender is going to be up front. I mean, they're going to be. I'm not too worried about that aspect. It's more unscrupulous people who get a hold of people like the people that you're dealing with that misdirect them and tell them things that are in that person's interest, not the buyer's interest. So maybe that's something that we need to look at, Mr. Chairman, as far as how maybe we can prevent these type of nefarious activities occurring to people that are here legally?
Representative Oni.
To follow up on that, I think that, you know, because we're, as a committee, being tasked to look at both sides of this issue, right? I'm fascinated by your experiences just simply in one area of our state, right? One piece of our economic development, which is the housing industry. And I wonder what other industries this is happening in, and what other, who else is being taken advantage of in our state, and on what grounds. And I wonder if there's a way that our committee can think about things like addressing and preventing fraudulent victimizing folks with fraud and those sorts of things. And to your point, Spanish language contracts, things like that, more interpreter services, things like that make it easier for folks who are here and who want to contribute to our community. So thank you.
Representative Taylor.
Good point.
Proceed.
Thank you. I want to follow up with Representative Owen's line, because I think building the infrastructure within the state that people recognize, number one, that we want to welcome our immigrants, and that we have some resources might be helpful. So have you, in your profession, how do you get trained on contracts and leases and things like that? And primarily what I'm getting at is, how is a renter, how is a new immigrant to our state supposed to know, or you know, what resources do they have available?
Mm-hmm. How I got trained like any other real estate agent, right? We do take a course, and then we take a national and a state exam, and then after that we take continued education every 2 years. So that's how we get trained. I'm also a broker salesperson in this area, so there is additional trainer in regards to that. Now, with people getting here, that's a very good question for you to ask, because I don't know if there is somewhere where they can go and see how even a lease contract looks like, you know? When someone comes to me to tell me, hey, I feel like renting my house, I direct them to a lawyer, and we go to the same situations, right? We don't have many lawyers in here that speak Spanish. And the closest ones that we have, they're in Kansas City or San Luis, and the very few that we have, they are criminal lawyers or something else that doesn't really, that they won't be able to help them on that scenario. So that's also a big thing that we're lacking here. Someone that can help them with that type of service, that can speak the language.
The representative talked about, you know, the state having some degree of infrastructure. Are you aware of any brochures or any literature that we give to immigrants that forewarn them, you know, when entering real estate, it has to be a signed lease, or any brochures that direct them to translators and bilingual services?
I'm not aware of that, but I also know if there was something, most of the people I know that are here, they try to hide rather than ask questions, because they feel unwelcome and they're worried that someone is gonna do something to them or send them back.
You're the president of a Hispanic Leaders Organization. From your perspective, do you know of any other states, Colorado, Wyoming, that are doing a good job of educating their new visitors or people that are entering the state?
What I know is that there are 3 states, California, Texas, and Florida, that have Spanish-speaking real estate contracts. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Burns.
Thank you. I too am a real estate agent, and the points that you bring up are valid, but I do feel they're more appropriate for a HUD or a real estate venue. Right now, all of the contracts, as you know, are being rewritten because of the federal case that just passed. That might be a great opportunity to use some of your knowledge and influence. But I do want to say, the thing that I take that I think is the most relevant is that you don't want harm to come to people that have come to this country like you have, who have come here legally, because of the work that we do need to do to protect you and the rest of us. because we do have 2 hours to speak, I am having text messages come to me from law enforcement with very good conversations that they're holding people in jails. But an illegal citizen like yourself would get proper identification and then would be, if they didn't, would be held, but they keep getting released. And I feel like we cannot allow what you're saying, these two conversations to mix. But by mixing this real estate conversation with this very real crime issue, I think it could cause confusion and bring more harm. And I think we need someone like yourself to say, no, there's very clearly a difference in advocating for legal immigrants and housing and fair housing, and that is a separate issue than protecting law enforcement and helping them from people who are committing crimes that we can't properly identify. And I just wanted to make that point.
Representative Dinkins.
Chuck,
Proceed.
you referred to some bad actors that have taken advantage of some immigrants, and I was wondering if any of these have taken legal action, have taken that to an attorney or to the Attorney General, or if any of these have been addressed in any way.
All of the ones that I know firsthand, they haven't taken any legal actions. Because we go to the same thing. There is no lawyer in our area that speaks the language.
But you said you acted as a translator.
To what, I'm sorry?
But you said you acted as a translator between those, so you're not able to translate that to the attorney or anything for them?
I always offer to call a lawyer. They just don't want to really deal with it for many reasons. And again, I'm not a professional translator or anything. What I translate are the forms, real estate forms that they're filling out and signing. That's the only thing I really feel comfortable translating when it comes to a legal form.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions for the witness? Before we let you go, a couple of things come to mind from your testimony. I'm just going to acknowledge, I think the name of this committee probably does work against us, and let's acknowledge that. I also think that you make some good points, but you also highlight the point that many people who are here illegally and are being taken advantage of don't come forward because of their illegal status, which is kind of the point of dealing with victimization. So again, the need for a committee of this nature has some validity. Would you agree that fentanyl is a bad thing?
Yes.
Would you agree that it's coming across the border in large amounts with the illegal immigrants?
I do not know enough about the subject to make a comment in regards to that.
So this is probably more of a comment than a question, but if it were true, and we believe it to be true, then fentanyl is a crime related to illegal immigration. And that's an important distinction for us to bear in mind. That the purpose of this committee is not about illegal immigrants committing crime, but crime associated or related to illegal immigration. Okay. Representative Engel.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. Because we're talking about fentanyl, do you know about the amount of fentanyl that flows from the Canadian border down to the United States?
I do not.
Okay, great. Are you also aware that most of the time that fentanyl comes into the United States from the southern border, it comes through legal citizens of the United States?
I did not know that.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for the witness? Representative Hovis. Proceed.
Inquire, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I appreciate everything you come and brought for us today. This is just a question from my end. With your heritage coming and being a citizen who's came here legally and done things the right way, which I truly appreciate to anyone who wants to come to the U.S., what do you think the U.S. needs to do to stem the flow of illegal immigration so that we're not placing more and more people at jeopardy coming into the country? Because I know when I was in law enforcement, we would deal with people that had been brought here illegally, but then they were put into servitude to pay the handlers that brought them here by working and giving them all the money. So I'm just wondering what's your opinion on how we can stem that flow? Because there's a lot of people coming across the border now.
My opinion is how the media tells a story, right? I know a lot of people who are here who are really not having the time of their lives, who in their heads when they came over to the United States, they thought their life was going to change. They thought that, you know, the American dream that everyone dreams of. I used to dream it when I'm from Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico. I don't know if you guys know about this, but in 2011, it was considered the most dangerous city in the world. So my dream was to come to the USA. I didn't want to be there anymore because to me, the USA was the greatest country in the world, right? And what I did is I knew I was a good swimmer. I applied to all these schools, you know, and I went to the school that gave me all the scholarship and will take me in January. I didn't want to wait until the next year because I have an image in my head about the United States. It was perfect. Everything's going to be good and I'm going to have this good job. And it did take me 12 years to get my citizenship. 12 years and a lot of money. I move around a lot. So I'm not sure if I know how to answer your question, but it's just how the United States is perceived by other countries. You know, they are dying to get in here for many reasons.
No, thank you for that. And I want to truly appreciate you going through the right way to get here, because part of the things of being part of our citizenship is there's requirements that people go through to help make them less victimized. And when I was looking through the 7 criteria to be a citizen here, you know, you have to be at least 18 years old, you know, because you're old enough to take care of yourself and to do certain things. Hold and permanent residency, demonstrating knowledge of U.S. history, and proficiency in English, which also helps with those communication barriers. And I think that when people do come here legally, it may be, even though your road was still hard, you worked through it and persevered, which probably makes you a great citizen of the United States because you have that ability to do that. And I just want to make sure we're not placing other people in jeopardy, because I have a friend that works on the border with Border Patrol, and he says the word down there with a lot of people is that if you just get to the U.S., you're going to get to stay. And so when that word goes out in countries that are not our own, a lot of people believe that, and then it places them in great jeopardy. So I'm wondering how we curtail that messaging to people wanting to come here illegally. That was just why I wanted you to kind of talk on your thoughts about being from a foreign country and how you would look at it.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, that was very enlightening. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Our next witness, Rafael. If you will state your name, be sure to fill out a witness form when
Yes.
you're finished. Proceed when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Rafael Vite. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, my name is Rafael Vite, and I stand before you today as an immigrant from Saltillo, Mexico, who moved to the United States in 2013. I came to pursue an undergrad degree on entrepreneurship and international management, followed by a master's degree in business administration. Today, I run a digital marketing agency and own a co-working space for photographers right here in Missouri. Additionally, I'm proud to serve as Vice President of the Hispanic Networking Group in the Ozarks. I'm deeply grateful for this country and the community that has provided me. I also care deeply about the safety and security of my family and our state. However, I must express my concern regarding the formation of the Special Interim Committee on Illegal Immigrant Crimes. While the intent behind this committee may be to enhance safety, it risks painting immigrants with a broad and unfair brush, but potentially alienating a vital segment of our population. Studies have shown that immigrants in general have lower crime rates than native-born citizens. By focusing specifically on crimes involving illegal immigrants, we run the risk of fostering misconceptions about the broader immigrant population. This can have unintended consequences for our community, affecting how immigrants are perceived and potentially hindering our efforts to attract diverse talent. From personal experience, I can attest the positive impact that immigrants have on our state. At my marketing agency, we serve over 25 clients from all sizes, industries, and demographics, helping them grow and thrive in the digital era. Some of our clients started as small hobby businesses, and with our support, they have turned their passions into full-time jobs, being able to provide to their family. My co-working studio offers a professional space for local photographers, enabling them to grow their business and better their clients. These are just some examples from my own life. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other international students and immigrants who are making a significant contribution to our communities through their work, innovation, and dedication. According to Missouri's Higher Education and Workforce Development 2023 report, enrollment in universities has consistently declined since 2018. However, international student enrollment has increased, demonstrating a growing interest from talented individuals around the world to study and contribute here. In 2022, 39% of graduate teaching assistants in Missouri were international students, a testament to their vital role in our education system. Moreover, NAFSA reports that international students contributed over $40 billion to the U.S. economy while studying here. For every 3 international students, 1 job is created or supported. These students are not here to take jobs, but to create opportunities, drive innovation, and help our state grow. The creation of this committee, combined with recent media portrayals of immigrants as criminals, damage the image of all immigrants and makes Missouri a less appealing destination for international talent. This negative perception does not differentiate between legal and illegal immigrants, unfairly stigmatizing all who come here to better themselves and our community. As we face a decline in domestic student enrollment, international students play a crucial role in sustaining our educational institutions and, by extension, our economy. We should be fostering an environment that welcomes and retains talent, not one that repels it. While we must address concerns about safety, we must also consider the broader implications of our actions. By unfairly criminalizing immigrants, we risk losing the very individuals who contribute to the diversity and growth of our state. I urge you to reconsider the formation of this committee and instead focus on policies that enhance safety and well-being of all Missouri residents, while also recognizing and celebrating invaluable contributions of immigrants. Thank you.
Thank you. So, like our previous witnesses, I want to sort of capitalize on some of the things that you said and then ask you some questions. There is not a person sitting before you who is not the product of immigration. This is a country built on immigration. I would agree with you that people who immigrate here legally probably have much lower crime rates because they came here for a way of life. There's not that sense of entitlement, if you will. And I would agree with you that they are likely to be very productive citizens. We want legal immigrants. The question that I have is that you talked about crime committed by immigrants. That's not the subject of the committee. And as I acknowledged earlier, the title of this committee might be misleading. The fact of the matter is that there's a lot of people here who are not here legally, and they not only may commit some crimes, we don't know how much, but they may also be victims, nor do we know how much that is. Part of that problem is the lack of data being collected on the issue, which is some of what we're trying to do here. The perception, it is so easy to jump to, and it's the one that you just referred to, that this committee is somehow about immigrants are bad people. That perception, I know how it happens, it's just not correct. But how do we go about determining how many victims are illegal immigrants? How do we determine how many crimes are committed by illegal immigrants? How do we determine how much crime is related to illegal immigration if we don't form a committee and do this kind of investigation? I'd be interested in your opinions about that.
Absolutely, and just to clarify, here, as I live here in Springfield, Missouri, and live my daily life here, I also care about my safety, my security, my family's safety, and my family's security. What I'm worried about with this committee and the recent portrayals by the media is that the community, or we get that perception from the American people that we're not welcome here. As far as specifically things that we can do, to measure the activity of illegal immigration, I consider that we can work closely with different industries in the area where the same procedures as to measure domestic crimes will also apply to international illegal immigration. Not really just alienating or just like focusing on one specific area of the population. I care, like I said, I care about my safety, I care about my family's safety, and this safety doesn't only come from the crimes from illegal immigration, it comes from people all over the United States.
Agreed. So before I let you go, I want to point out that, as I said earlier, this is a category of crime. In many parts of our nation, we have categories of crime related to gang activity, Asian gang activity. We have crime related to human trafficking. We have crime related to money laundering. So each of those is sort of categorical. That's really what we're supposed to be doing here. And that's just a statement. Representative Minkle.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate everything that you said and your dialogue with the chair. When I drove here today from the summit, I passed several political signs, as I'm sure everyone on this committee did, right? And one of them was a governor candidate, and at the bottom of the sign it said "Deport illegals." I've also noticed a lot of rhetoric and the chanting of things like mass deportation now. We are a political body. We are elected by our political parties, and then we are elected by our districts. The primary is a week away, and we can't divorce ourselves from that. Do you think that the kind of divisive rhetoric, such as mass deportation now being chanted at campaign events and deport illegals, might possibly lead to a spike in crimes committed against immigrants?
Absolutely, absolutely, and the main reason why I'm here is exactly because of that. Because I'm worried that people they don't know how to make the difference. You know, they're not gonna be going around asking, "Are you illegal? Okay, I'm gonna treat you this way. Are you illegal? I'm gonna treat you this other way." And with all the fear and propaganda that we've been getting from TV commercials, from billboards and all that, that's what it's incentivizing all these people that they have never had any experience dealing with international before, that we're humans too. We know we're here. We want to make an impact the same way that you want to do an impact, and we're not going around asking like, "Are you illegal?" or "You're not illegal." We're a person and we want to make a difference.
And it could be that anyone who is viewed as being from not here for whatever reason, regardless of their immigration status, may be subjected to harassment, violence, and crimes committed against them. Those are just some concerns I have with the rhetoric, but thank you.
Further questions to the witness. Representative Owen.
I wasn't sure the soft-spoken chairman called me, but I think he did recognize me there.
Well, I recognize you. I don't think
Okay,
I've seen you before.
Maybe it's my old age hearing.
Proceed.
As I interviewed people in our Jeff City hearing, we're trying, and the chairman pointed out at the beginning of this, when you don't have any good information, it's hard to know where you need to go. But just trying to draw on my own thoughts, I've come into this committee worried about that if I'm here illegally, where am I going to try and hide out where I'm not noticed? And that's going to be within the community of people who tend to look like me and talk like me and what have you. I might be totally wrong on that, and that's again why we want information. Do you get a sense within the Latino community that you've got a problem with these people staying in your areas, your neighborhoods, what have you, and that they're committing crime that's negatively impacting you and other legal immigrants here?
The community where I'm around, I'm very grateful for that Hispanic community. As a matter of fact, together with Gabriela, we formed the Hispanic Networking Group of the Ozarks. And the main purpose of that organization was precisely to get in touch with all the Hispanic, not only business owners, but business professionals in the area, to get together, support each other, and help grow the business Hispanic community in the area. Not because in the circles that we're around, I have not experienced specific like crimes or specific things that might negatively affect me, my group, or my family.
And that's what I'm trying to get to is, are you seeing it within the community where outside people are coming in who are not legal and are living in your community and causing you all issues?
Honestly, I've not seen that it's causing issues in our community, and as a matter of fact, one of the main purposes also of this group is to foster more that for Hispanics that come to the area, say like, look, these are business professionals, these are business owners in the area, they're trying to make an impact. Let's see them as role models and not try to, go the negative way.
And I think that's good, but I'm just wanting to find out, do you have problems in your community because these people are slipping in and they're hiding amongst you all and committing issues for you all? I understand what you're taking this organization and you're trying to say, hey, larger community, we are a very positive impact. We are, I get that. I'm saying though, but are we having others come in unscrupulously and create problems and issues within the community because they're amongst you and so they're wanting to commit crime? Hey, what better than the people I'm living around? Are you having issues of crime from these people coming into your community?
Not that I've experienced or heard of.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. Because that was going into this. That was something I worried about, that maybe that the Latino community was being preyed upon by some of these people that are coming across the border like that.
Right, and don't get me wrong. I definitely want safety in our communities, but safety doesn't come targeted to specific groups of people. I consider that safety, it should be all together, that the same rule that applies whether for an African American, whether for a Caucasian, for a Hispanic, it should be the same and not target a specific member of the demographic.
Representative Billington, then Representative Boney.
Yes, thank you for coming, for sure. And so, do you communicate with people in other countries? Like, what country you're from?
I'm from Mexico, born and raised.
Okay. Do you communicate with people in Mexico?
If I commute, like
you communicate. You talk to them. You call them on the phone.
Oh, absolutely. My entire family is here. I'm the only one living here.
When you talk to people, do you ask them to come here legally? Wait the minute they come legally, or you wait the minute they come here illegally?
Of course, legally. They all have their visas, their passports. They go the right way.
So if somebody come here unlegally, do you think we should deport them or not deport them?
I consider that it should be for the safety of our people. If people coming here illegally, they're causing crimes. I consider if somebody's causing a crime, I consider they should suffer the consequences. But yeah, I don't consider that it's fair for children that didn't have an option to come here illegally, that they're just living their regular lives. They don't have an option to be affected by this policy.
Now you said earlier that there were no data. Although you said there were data that said that you here illegally, that you commit less crime than people here illegally. And that's what you were talking about earlier. That people that come here illegally commit less crime than people that were here legally. Is that what you talked about earlier, right?
Correct.
Now, we have found out up in Jeff City that law enforcement that came, sheriff department, highway patrol, they said that when somebody hit unlegally and they commit a crime, there's no paperwork, nothing to write down if they hit legally and not legally. But that's something that committee, I hope to do, to make sure we have that paperwork to fill out. So right now, there's no way to judge how many people commit a crime legally or unlegally. So that's something I hope the committee can do, to have that paperwork that people would fill out till we know the answer for that. So right now, we do not know the answer. But thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Representative Mahoney,
Thank you.
proceed.
Okay, so I want to start by just obviously thanking you for your testimony today. It's so important to hear all the different perspectives. And, we heard questions earlier about whether you or the folks in your community have personally been victimized. And I just want to clarify that one person's anecdotal experience is not representative of what's happening on a larger scale in our communities, correct?
Correct.
So one thing I do want to highlight is, while we are here talking about crimes, it's important that we understand that national crime trends are decreasing currently. So just for the edification of the group, between January and March, January through March 2003 versus 2020, or 2023 versus 2024, murder rates have declined 26.4% nationally. Rape has decreased 25.7% nationally. Robbery has decreased 17.8% nationally, and property crime has decreased 15.1% nationally. So when we talk about crimes being committed, we also need to understand that the reason this committee was formed is it's an election year. And to your point, the rhetoric, the propaganda that's out there puts folks in Hispanic communities, in minority communities, per Representative Weber's personal testimony and personal experiences, in danger of being victims of hate crimes, fraud, and other crimes. And that's why I'm very grateful that this committee is taking the time to look at both sides of this issue and make sure that we're addressing how we protect folks who are living in our state from being victimized, no matter where they came from, full stop. Thank you.
Further questions for the witness? Representative Taylor, proceed.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us. And let's go back a little bit. You came to the U.S. to attend college at Missouri State University?
Correct.
Did you have other options? Were there other universities you were considering?
Definitely, and actually one of the main reasons why I came to Missouri State, honestly, was all up to the financials. As, I don't know if you guys are aware, but Missouri State University is one of the most affordable universities for international students all over the country, and I got accepted in a couple of them, but because also there are not scholarship opportunities other than sports for international students, my family and I made the decision to come here to Missouri State because of that purpose.
And I appreciate it. Thank you for that. You stayed and you have a graduate degree. Not only did you finish your bachelor's degree, what's your graduate degree?
Master's of Business Administration.
And again, you had other options. You could have gone somewhere else. Why did you decide to stay here?
I was offered a graduate assistantship position where I was working, and it was a really good opportunity. You know, my family made big sacrifices sending me here monetarily, and taking an opportunity, getting a master's degree, and plus getting paid, because that's another thing. When international students come to the United States, we're not allowed to work anywhere where we want. The only place that we're allowed to work is at the campus, at the university. So we're very limited with our options. So that definitely was a choice that it was not hard to say yes to.
Rafael, I'm going to stop for a moment because you really have hit a nerve there, that it is a great sacrifice to you and your family that you chose to come to Missouri to build a better life. You finished your bachelor's degree, you finished your master's, and now you even continue to stay here in Missouri. I bring this up because it is hurtful. It is a big sacrifice, and some of what we're doing here makes our visitors and immigrants and international students feel unwelcome. Did you encounter any of this as you were an undergrad or a graduate student, feeling unwelcome by other people?
Mostly, look, I'm honestly a very positive person, so I don't take into offensive people, but I definitely experienced where there are like groups of people and like during classes, you know, when they were like for teamwork, I would always end up having to be the team leader, and who was in my team, the other international students or the outcast the other American students didn't elect, and we always did great. So.
Okay. I'm going to try and be brief here, but number one, thank you again for the testimony, and I personally feel honored that you would choose Missouri and Missouri State to come and study and get your graduate degree and stay and start a company, and again, making this a great place. I do also find it very hurtful when I see ads on television talking about deport them all and mass deporting people that may have come here as children. It is hurtful, and I think we should, as a committee, consider that in recognizing not only do our universities, but some of our research companies and other companies throughout our state actively and aggressively have to invite and recruit the best talent globally, and some of this stuff is damaging and it's hurtful. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming us today.
Further questions for the witness? I've seen that. I want to say two things. I know will disagree with me. I know that it's very easy because of the timing to believe this committee is solely about the election year. That may be true for some, but if it was solely about election, let me assure you that I would not be chairing it. I was asked to do this and I agreed to do it. I would not do it if that was the only reason we were here. That having been said, I want you to know I have some empathy with you. See, I know what it means to be judged based on not who you are, but what you are. I've got a couple of other people here at the table who are ex-law enforcement. And I can tell you as an example, right at Ferguson, where you couldn't get served in a fast food restaurant because you were in uniform. You were a police officer, and so there was this presumption that you were like every other police officer. I know how that feels. It's not lost on me, the reality of what you're saying, because I have experiences on an entirely different way. But I know what you mean, and I agree there's validity to it. And I appreciate you being here and testifying with the dignity that you have. It'd be pretty easy to get angry from your position, and so I appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Next witness, Yolanda. And be sure to get your witness form, fill that out. Good morning, or good afternoon, late afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You'll say your name, be sure to fill out your witness form when you're done, and proceed when you're ready.
So I'm Yolanda Lorsch, and originally from Mexico. And 53 years ago at church, I met my husband, who was an American. He was a missionary there. And 2 years after that, we decided to get married, and in my case, to come to the United States. So I had to get all kinds of visas to come here and so forth. And then of course I had to learn English, first thing, on my own, because 50 some years ago, I came from Mexico City to a very small town in Kansas, Neodesha, Kansas. There were no English classes, no nothing, so I learned it on my own. But in my family we read a lot, so I started reading magazines and then books and so forth. And I also like history, and so I started reading a lot of books about American history, because I knew enough about Mexican history. So then 38 years ago, we moved from Kansas City to Springfield because of my husband's job. And then 2 years after that, there was a small group of Hispanics, mostly professionals, and we decided to form like a social group, and we just used to get together and so forth. And then we started noticing newcomers coming into this area. And those newcomers, we noticed that they would ask us things, like where to go, where to get this, and so forth. So we decided, instead of just getting together as a social group, why don't we organize a service organization? And so 35 years ago, we founded Grupo Latinoamericano, which is a service organization, not for profit. And the first program that we offered, obviously, was teaching English. Teaching English to these newcomers. And then after that, all kinds of classes. Right now, and from 20 years, we've been teaching also citizenship preparation classes. But of course, I'm the teacher, so I had to know a lot of, civics, American civics, history, and of course, the laws, right? And part of the services for these people, they were asking us, I got a ticket, could you come with me to court to interpret? So I started interpreting that way. And then after like 5 years or whatever, the judge asked me, why don't you work for us for in this case it was municipal court to be our interpreter. So, and then of course I had to take classes and pass tests and so forth, and Jefferson City from the Supreme Court, they offer those courses. And so I have been an interpreter for the courts in the Ozarks area for the courts, and I am also the interpreter and translator for the federal prison. So because of what I do with the organization and in courts and so forth, I think I know, as far as Latinos is concerned, Hispanics, I think I know the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so to say, and I think I welcome this. I welcome this committee. We need to be protected from criminals, and so forth. So I think it's a good idea to investigate all about, and especially if they're coming from other countries and so forth. But you asking about statistics and data from regular citizens like those young people, but I think the people who you should be asking is like ICE, USCIS, Homeland Security. About 20 years ago, when they brought the ICE office here to Springfield, we used to have monthly meetings with a director, and he would give us all the information about what had happened with legal, illegally, immigration, and so forth, and we will get the statistics of who committed crimes, from what country, Mexico, Romania, China, Russia, whatever. Well, so if you want those statistics.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Your time has expired, but I'm going to let you go another couple of minutes because I think you're onto something we all need to hear. But please, if you could, conclude as quickly as you can. Proceed.
Conclude what? I'm sorry?
Conclude as soon as you can. Go ahead and proceed. Okay, I'm going to give you another couple of minutes, okay?
Okay, yeah. So that's about myself, okay? I also work with different churches, Hispanic and English-speaking churches, of course. But I think it's important to ask those questions that everybody, you have been asking the questions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your unique background, and I agree with you. The people who should be at the table are ICE and some of those other agencies. I think you probably are aware that the mission of ICE has gone off a little bit on a tangent the last couple of years, along with the Border Patrol. And truthfully, there's very little data, even with those agencies, with regard to the amount of crime perpetrated against an illegal immigrant in particular. I don't know of any place that's collecting data related to crime related to illegal immigration. So that's part of our charge, and you're one of those people who are in kind of a unique position to do that. So if you could offer us a suggestion, what would you suggest we could do in order to be sure that we're getting good, valid data that is actionable?
Again, I think ICE has at least for the area, you know, ICE in Springfield, in Kansas City, and so forth. I mean, go to USCIS also. I am in a citizens committee, leaders committee with the police chief, and we meet every month, and they give us the numbers, who committed what. They don't specifically say they by races and ethnicities, you know. And if they know, if they are undocumented, of course. If they arrest someone from, there's a DWI, of course you had to go to jail to fingerprint and do the test and so forth. From jail, they don't let them go. Okay, then call ICE, and of course jail is the sheriff. Okay, so those people have the statistics as far as this area. Okay, and in Springfield, Hispanics, citizens, immigrants, illegal immigrants is 4%. We represent 4% of the population in Springfield. Okay, and we're talking about all kinds of Hispanics, even from many generations. Because as you know, in the United States, Hispanics were here before, in this land, Hispanics were here before the British, right? 46 years before Jamestown, the Spaniards built Santa Fe and San Agustin, okay? So there are also Hispanics from many, many generations. Not myself, I'm an immigrant, and I'm also Hispanic. But but in this area that's very small population. So what is the illegal population? Also, the states in the United States that have the greatest population of illegal immigration is Florida, New Jersey, New York, Texas, California, Illinois. Okay. Way down Missouri. But still, it's a good idea to investigate this issue.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate everything you're sharing with us along with your expertise. Can you share any examples that you may have had as, I know that you've worked as a translator within the criminal justice system. Have you experienced any crimes committed against undocumented immigrants who were hesitant to go to law enforcement?
Many crimes and abuses. And I'm mostly an interpreter, but I also translate. Okay. I think one that stuck with me is about this family who it's 7 years ago, they called me, because they call me at all times, okay? They think that I don't sleep. So they called me middle of the night. It was a couple, and they said, we don't know what to do. Our daughter just came home, and she said she was with her boyfriend, and we asked her what boyfriend, because she's only 12, and she's kept from the window, you know, who is that? And so they found out it's a 25-year-old man, okay? And they said, we don't know what to do about this. So I told them, like I tell many people who go through this type of situation, call the police. Call the police. And they said, no, but we're afraid because we don't have papers. That's how they say it. We don't have papers. Now, the child was a citizen because she was born here. And we speak very little English. So we're afraid to call them. They're gonna call immigration and so forth. And the fact that we don't know how to call, we don't know how to speak good English, and I said, I'll interpret for you. You know, don't worry about that. You need to call the police. And So they called the police and so forth, and I was able to interpret for the parents through the whole process, talking to the prosecutor, to the lawyers, and in court for the parents. The girl, of course, spoke English, and I'm gonna make this story short. She ended up being pregnant and with gonorrhea. I went also to the hospital with the girl, the little girl actually, and when she had the baby. So I see stories like that, and people being afraid to call the police. And they shouldn't be afraid to call the police because they have protection also, protection of the law. And so, I mean, many, maybe I could write a book. I used to write for the newsletter, but anyway.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Representative Burns.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming and speaking. I've created a list just based on your information of DEA, ICE, Homeland Security, Highway Patrol, U.S. Marshals. Maybe they can all start to get us some data, because really everything starts with anecdotal stories. That's why you know to dig up the data. However, I'm from the St. Louis, St. Charles side of the state, and we just had a massive drug bust of 28 individuals connected to Mexico. Sure, that's my one anecdotal story, but they are DEA, and it's right on DEA's website. The fentanyl that they brought into my community was incredibly deadly. I thank you for giving us some ideas, because we have to say, okay, here's some stories. It's gonna be difficult if we have to just go through stories off DEA's website or gather stories from our local news. But I want everyone here to know, we're talking about elections, I don't even have a primary. I'm here because I have heard and know about the fentanyl coming to St. Louis and St. Charles. I have law enforcement that has children that have died because of fentanyl. So this is really important to me, and it's important from a law enforcement. And what I do like is seeing these professionals that are such great spokespersons for such an important message, that we got to make sure that we watch our messaging. And absolutely, let's watch that messaging, but I cannot allow my constituents to have 28 members of the cartel bring fentanyl into my side of the state. And I did create the list, and I am gonna go from those anecdotal stories and try to collect data, or maybe even invite them to the next meeting, because we do have to get past anecdotal stories and start talking about real data, so that we can find out from law enforcement what stopped them from keeping people safe. So thank you very much for your testimony.
And I'm in agreement with that. And we also have, data, this is now history, from past years and even centuries of other immigrants coming into this country, and many of them being criminals. We had the Italian mafia, the Irish mafia, and so forth. So throughout the years, there's always gonna be the good, the bad, and the ugly that gonna come to this country, either attracted for jobs or for crime or whatever. It's always gonna be. And go ahead, take them and put them in a helicopter and drop them in the Bermuda Triangle or whatever. That's fine with me. I think it should be, the law should be enforced. And about immigration, I think all of you know or should know that coming here without permission, undocumented, first time, is a civil. It's a misdemeanor. Okay, one and more times, then it's a felony. Those are the people that I see in federal prison. It's not a felony until it's more than 3 times. Okay, in the meantime, it's against the law. It's also against the law to not stop on a red light and so forth. They are criminals because they did something against the law. I have done, sometimes I didn't stop or whatever, and I hit someone on the back. So that was against the law, and I went to court. Which, by the way, when I was I have been in many state committees, okay? And that ticket came 7 years after I couldn't read. But what I mean, but I'm not a criminal because I broke some laws. I'm not a criminal. But if those people who did something against the law or without permission and then commit a crime, they should pay for it. And they do pay for it, and they do go to jail. That's why we have the names, you know, this person, that, not because he knows them personally, it's because it was in the newspaper, okay? And I'm sure they're in jail right now, and then after they do their sentence or whatever, then they're gonna be deported. And if you commit a felony, and even if you are here legally, you have green card, and you commit a felony, you lose your green card, and you're gonna be deported after you do your
We're gonna go
time.
to Representative Castillo now, and then Representative Owen.
Thank you very much. Back to the story that stuck with you all these years, was the rapist, was he a citizen, or what was his immigration?
He was here legally.
He was here legally?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Representative Owen.
And he lost his. Yeah.
First of all, I have followed you for a long time through the newspaper. I remember you speaking to the Springfield Chamber, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate how much you've contributed to our community by bringing information to the rest of us about the Latino community over the years. The information that you've given us here today between these different agencies, and the fact that you've actually worked as an interpreter, I mean, you've been on the ground. We've limited your time. If you think of anything else, I hope you will get back with the committee. Since I represent part of Greene County, I'd like to give you my card. If you think of anything that you think would benefit us in trying to get a handle on this, I would greatly appreciate the communication. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you.
So there's one thing that I want to say, and we're going to let you go here in a second, but I think you highlighted for us exactly what the challenge here is. I think that ICE, DEA, many of those federal agencies have some data. They have no data about the family that you were talking about had you not recommended they go forward. And therein lies the problem. If you hadn't suggested they go to the police, that crime would have been unreported.
Oh, yes.
How many more crimes of that nature do not get reported because the victim was illegal? I think you just highlighted our problem, and it's why ICE and DEA are not going to have good data, because that data is not collected. Nobody reports it, and so there's no way to collect it. Part of our challenge is to figure out how do we do that. It's very difficult to make a decision when we don't know the magnitude of the problem.
Or they work for a business or whatever, and then they don't get paid, and too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
Or for instance, there's a farm, and I'm not going to say that, but anyway, they brought a group of Guatemalans to work for that farm, for those owners, and they work 7 days a day. It just happened that day they go by themselves. I don't know how it happened, but they heard about me, and anyway, I met with them. But those people, and there are many like this, those like some hotels in Branson and like farms, whatever, and they all live in one place. They pay rent, and they cannot have a car, so we will take you there. So they take them to Walmart, they take them here and there. Basically, they are slaves. I mean, they get paid that minimum.
We call that servitude.
Right, it's
That's exactly
servitude.
what it is.
And there are many like that.
Yes.
Many people like that. And sometimes I even bring them with a temporary work permit, for 9 months, which it is. And then they just keep them, and they don't go back. And it's, again, working in those type of situations.
Okay, any further questions from the committee for this witness? Seeing none, Your Honor, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And I would like to say just something, okay? Now, it's not an opinion. It's just, okay, so some years ago, the Office of the Attorney General, I mean, they still have it, Know Your Rights. And so that book is very, because you were asking her if translating whatever, or how can they know. So it is in English, but some years ago, the Attorney General, they had it translated into Spanish. I was the one who translated that little book. But it says not only your rights, but also your obligations, and the laws, basically, is for consumers, okay? And or for people who rent or buy houses, for everything, and at work. They don't make it in Spanish anymore. So I called the office, and no, we don't make it in Spanish anymore. And it's been like 10 years since they don't make it in Spanish anymore. But it's for consumers, you know, and this will be for anybody who just came into this country. They don't know, and I'm not talking about illegal immigrants, okay? I'm talking about people who come here with a visa, people who come companions for executive, you know, position, but the wife that comes with that. I mean, those people who come with that work visa, you know, corporate. I'm talking corporate, because they are executive positions. They speak English, but many times not the wife or the children or whatever. They need to know also.
Okay, we appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else here who's not signed up who wishes to testify today? Okay. Come forward, please.
Quick point of order. I'm
Proceed.
curious if we are allowing people to testify in multiple hearings, and if so, why that wasn't mentioned at the beginning of the onset of all of this, so we could have invited folks to come over repeatedly and testify.
I'm free, right?
Yep.
You know, as much as I appreciate the testimony I think you were going to offer, I think if we do allow that, I think you're right. And I think we're going to open Pandora's box. I'd be happy to speak with you afterwards. Thank you for coming anyway. Anybody else here who is not, Mr. Taylor?
Just to, if the chairman would remind people to submit written testimony.
Yes, I will.
Certainly if the visitor
I will.
would like to submit his testimony by written, we'd appreciate that. And in fact, what are the instructions for submitting written testimony?
Okay. So, first of all, if you did testify, please be sure that you turn in the witness form. We do accept testimony in written form sent to the committee. Did somebody to your office?
They'll need to go onto the House website under hearings and click on this hearing.
If you would go to the House website, click on hearings, and you can submit testimony in that fashion. You can also send written testimony to my office, which is at the Capitol, room 403B, and it will be included in the record.
They have till midnight tonight to do it online.
And you have midnight tonight to do it online. We will be meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock in Joplin at the library. Hope everybody is still available to come. I know there's some folks who have an interest in being there tomorrow that we'll find unique. Okay. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Man, that was nice. Oh, we've been there 4 hours.